Hello everybody, welcome to English with Mrs. Craven on Thursday the 4th of March 2021. Let's look at our retrieval question together. Tell me about rhyming words. What makes them rhyme? Do they always have the same spelling pattern at the end? Pause the video, have a think, and we'll come back together in a minute. Let's have a chat. Rhyming words are rhyming words because they have the same sound at the end when you say them out loud. And rhyming words do not always have to have the same spelling pattern at the end, as long as they sound the same at the end when you say them out loud. For example, the words flower, hour, power and shower all rhyme because they sound the same at the end when you say them out loud. They all have the hour sound at the end. But the words flower and hour have the spelling pattern O-U-R at the end. The words power and shower have a different spelling pattern. They are spelt O-W-E-R at the end. But this doesn't matter because as long as they have the same sound at the end, the hour sound, it doesn't matter if the spelling pattern is different. They still rhyme. So well done if you knew any of those things, boys and girls. Today, we are learning to change vocabulary in a poem, and that means to change the words in a poem. And to be successful, we're looking to see if we can think of and write new adjectives for the poem called 10 Things Found in a Giant's Pocket. And to be successful and remember our previous learning, we want to be able to explain what an adjective is. Now, remember yesterday, children, that in the poem we looked at, we changed the rhyming words within the poem. Well, today we are not changing the rhyming words in our poem. We're going to look at a new poem and change the adjective words used in the poem. Now, let's look at Pusheen Cat. Pusheen Cat says, what are adjectives? Can you remember? We have used lots of adjectives in our work before and talked about them. Can you give some examples? May pause the video here and remember, what are adjectives and can you think of some? Well done if you remembered that an adjective is a describing word, and an adjective can describe how somebody or something looks or how somebody feels. For example, you could say, Pusheen Cat is large and fat. Pusheen Cat has a stripy tail. Pusheen Cat looks happy and inquisitive. They are adjectives and they are what we are going to be changing in our poem today. This is our new poem today, boys and girls. It's called a list poem and the title of it is 10 Things Found in a Giant's Pocket. Now, before we read the poem, I want you to think about why it could be called a list poem. What is a list, boys and girls? We've looked at lists before, and I'm sure you've had lists in your house and written lists yourself. What is a list? There are some clues on my screen. We have a shopping list. They have a Christmas list. So what are features of a list? How are lists laid out? Have a moment to think. Well, boys and girls, if you remembered that a list are made up of things that are written one under the other, then well done. We can see that the shopping list has got all the things this person needs to buy written one under the other from top to bottom. They are not written from left to right and side to side. That is the feature of a list. And the Christmas list shows us that too. And I'm sure, boys and girls, you wrote a Christmas list recently. And again, a list. We write what we'd like for Christmas, one thing under the other, top to bottom. We don't write them from side to side. And that is how our poem is laid out today. This is why it's called a list poem. And in our poem, it is writing all the things that have appeared in Jack and the Beanstalk. So it is a poem still about Jack and the Beanstalk and all the things that you might find in Giant's Pocket written as a list, one thing under the other. And I'm going to read it to you now. 10 things found in a giant's pocket. A small boy named Jack. A long green leafy plant, possibly a beanstalk. A fluffy white cloud. A golden hen laying golden eggs. A set of heavy rusty keys that jangle as he walks. A singing harp to help him sleep. A well-used handkerchief. Some extra large socks for when the weather turns cold. A book called Bedtime Stories for Giants, and a soft, cuddly teddy bear. So in that poem, it listed all the things that the giant might have in his pocket from Jack and the Beanstalk. Now, what we're going to do as one of our mini tasks to start with is we can read the poem again with your grown-up if you are at home, and you can have a copy of this poem printed from Sway. It's on Sway today, and after each line, I want you to pause and I want you to think about, is there an adjective in the line that you've just read? Can you find the adjective? Remember, it's a describing word. When you do, if you find one, you can colour it in with a crayon, underline it or circle it. And I've done the first one for you. The first line says, a small boy named Jack. So the adjective there is small. That is describing Jack. Now, lots of the lines have adjectives in them. Some of them have more than one, but there are a couple there that might catch you out and they don't have adjectives in them. So see how you get along. If you don't have access to a printer and you can't print the poem, then don't worry. You don't need to worry about writing the whole poem out. Just write a list of the adjectives in your purple book that you find. See how you get on. Now, I hope you managed to do that. Did you manage to find them all? Now, on my screen, you will see that I have got the poem and I have got some of the adjectives that were hiding in the poem highlighted in yellow. But don't worry, I'm aware that I haven't highlighted all of them. I've done that deliberately. So, boys and girls, well done if you found the adjectives small, long, green, leafy, fluffy, white, golden, and then there was another golden describing the eggs, heavy, rusty, jangle. Now, singing was the sneaky one. Singing is not an adjective, singing is a verb, so we needed to leave that one out. Well used is the adjective that described handkerchief. Extra large is the adjective that describes the socks. Also, there's a sneaky one in there describing the weather when the weather turns cold. So well done if you found that one. There isn't an adjective that describes the bedtime stories for the giants, but there is a couple hiding at the bottom that describes the teddy bear. He is soft and cuddly, so very well done if you found those adjectives. I'll explain why I haven't highlighted all of them on mine in a minute. What we're going to do next, and this is our main activity, boys and girls, is I want you to look at the adjectives that I have highlighted in yellow on my screen. So you'll be aware by now that I haven't highlighted all of them, just some of them. And what I want you to think about as your main activity is thinking of a new adjective instead of the one that's highlighted in yellow. So, for example, instead of using the adjective small to describe Jack, your job is to think of a new adjective to describe Jack. So, you could take out small and you could describe Jack as a cheeky boy named Jack, a tiny boy named Jack, a young boy named Jack. As long as your adjective makes sense, I don't mind what you replace it with. Okay, and you only have to do it for the adjectives that I've highlighted in yellow, not for all of them. Now, remember, your adjectives have to make sense. So we couldn't describe Jack as a giant boy or an angry boy because he's not. Those are words that could describe the giant. So good luck, be careful. Again, the activity for this is on Sway, but if you can't print Sway, don't worry. Again, you can just write your alternative new words as a list in your purple books. If you would like some support for your children with this, there are some picture adjective cards on Sway for you to look at, and these will provide your child with a choice of new adjectives to choose from and can help them to be a little bit more independent with their learning rather than relying on you. They're grown up all the time, and your child could pick a new alternative adjective and write the word down themselves because the words are on the card, so they're there to help you too. And if you would like to challenge your child, fly high, there is also in Sway a picture of Little Red Riding Hood that you can stick in your purple book. If you can't print Red Riding Hood, don't worry, your child could draw her straight into their book. And can you challenge your child to write another list poem about Red Riding Hood? It only has to be 4 or 5 lines long, not as long as the one we've shared today. Can you get your child to write a list poem about this traditional tale, including adjectives in each line of their poem? So, have we been successful? Well, if you manage to think of and write new adjectives for the poem, 10 Things Found in a Giant's Pocket, and or explain what an adjective is, then well done, you have been successful. As always, we love to see your work, so you can share it with us at parentsupport@shepherdswell.emat.uk. Bye everybody.